BJ on Game Day back again for another week. You got Brent, you got Joshy. Round 24 review, round 25 preview, mate. Last round of the year. King, no visual this week. Just the picks. Bogan's struggling, getting the end of the year. How are you, mate?
Yeah, mate. I'm good. I'll use the generic term. I'm good because fuck Supercoach. But unfortunately, no video for guys and our viewers at home. Some Skype updates have caused some technical difficulties, so just going with the audio only for this week, guys. Last week for me, 1,071. Unfortunately, in the BJ and Game Day head-to-head, I bombed out to Kane Anderson. And in my cash leagues as well, it saw me bow out in the semi-final. So, mate, pretty dismal week. Like most people, had turbo and had plenty of hard luck stories. Ready for it definitely to be over. And one more week, mate. Doesn't really mean anything for me this week. I've slipped outside the top 3,000. I've got no head-to-heads left. I'm fucked in draft. I should just sort of pack up now, mate. Mad Monday.
Get on it. Yeah,
right. No yourself, mate. Last week,
nothing. Yeah, look, 1178, same as everyone. I think bit of Turbo, bit of Johnson. Didn't help the causes there, but still going a few head-to-heads, which is good. I think I moved up like 130 spots overall, so I'm still not even making up any ground whatsoever. So I think maybe I'll just take a top 5,000 finish if I can hold on to it this year and, forget about it till next year. But a couple of cashies still going, so it'd be nice to get over the line there. Knocked off in the VJ and GameDay League. Marky rolled me, unfortunately, but well done to the boys playing in that bottom 8 half.
Yeah, we should say it was the bottom 8. So, not to say that obviously the opposition was any less because plenty of good performers across the league. But, we were fighting for the minor premiership, I guess. But, mate, what do we got, Bogan? We got last week's games up, the graphics. Thursday night game, the Cowboys in a tight one against the Doggies. Typical of the Dogs football from the last few weeks. They just playing those tight defensive games. But the Cowboys had just enough firepower to get across the line. 15-8 in the end. Tamalolo, another solid game with 67. Absolutely huge average this year from Tamalolo. So he's going to be a fair price at the start of next season. Ockenbaugh, mate, we haven't seen him for a while. He's come good.
Yeah, definitely showing light in the Dogs side again. Dogs were a chance to the 8 going into this one. Couldn't get it done, but as you said, Ockenbaugh was solid. I think he was only there because he took Remius Smith's spot from suspension. He's got the spot again this week, so I don't know whether it was a couple of weeks suspension there. But he was a shining light earlier in the year. Good to see him back, and a couple of teams now that are well and truly out of it. But, bit of interesting contest on the Thursday there.
On the Friday night football, mate, and we saw the first game there. Got no idea who
it was the first game was the Rabbits taking on the Warriors. So, interesting start to this game. I think it was pretty tight early on, but the Rabbitohs flexing a bit of the muscle, maybe finding a bit of form at the right time of the year. I know it was only the Warriors, but got the job done in the end. Murray, obviously massive, scoring a double, absolutely murdering those people that never brought him in. He just seems to keep finding the try line. A couple of the Walkers found a bit of form again there with 81, and I think they experimented with Campbell Graham in the centres last week, and that turned out to be pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see how they back up against the Chooks this week with a few of those combos. But on the Warriors side of things, it was Jazz Tavanga who's been a bit of a shining light to finish off the year as well. And Pompey, he was a late call up into the side. Looks pretty good as well. Passed a bit of the eye test, I reckon. Don't know much about him, but scored a try and looked pretty good in a well-beaten side.
Second game on the Friday night, mate, and we saw the Broncos get over the Eels, 17-16. You can change it, Bogan, when you're ready, mate. No rush. Here we go there. David Fafita, absolutely huge game. This bloke's he's hit a purple patch, definitely. Payne Haas with 91. While for the Eels, a little bit of a surprise there with Kane Evans, 102. He's definitely had a good season for the Eels. Evans, after a bit of an average season last year. Mike Acevo just continues to play well, scoring tries, busting tackles. Manu Mao updated from 47 to 70. So as a non-owner, I thought it was bullshit. But yeah, anyway, life goes on.
Updates are pretty brutal over the weekend, I found, mate.
Mate.
Revisions or whatever you want to call them.
I'm pretty sure the term's clinically depressed. That's me, clinically depressed about fucking Supercoach lately. I've bombed out left, right, and centre. Woulda, coulda, shouldas. All these guys that you sort of thought were the right ones to get in haven't worked, and I thought I'd take a chance on missing out on some guys, and they're absolutely burning me. So it's been pretty tough. But look, talking to Kane Anderson during the week, big props on obviously David Fafita. I reckon that his price, because he's actually started a lot of games off the bench, his average is not going to be that strong, and he could be one that everyone gets on next year for the Broncos.
Yeah, pretty crazy to think he's only, 18, 19 years old as well. Same with Payne Haas there. It's scary to think what these lads are going to be like in a couple of years. But yeah, I agree. I think David Fafita could be one that a lot of people look to start with next year, depending on what happens between now and then.
Like you say, 18, 19, these boys are just massive. Mate, I was at the gym last night doing some boxing, and I sparred against a young fella, and I thought this kid was probably about 22, 23, and he gave me a good touch-up, and he was 16 years old, and, mate, he was 6'3", plays second row for East Tigers in the Queensland Cup at 16, like, just an absolute freak. Yeah, reminded me how old I'm getting. Saturday afternoon football, mate, we had the 3 o'clock game. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just think for big men, they're still very athletic. Like, it's crazy. Their footwork and the way they move for big fellas is just, like, it's just crazy. Very Tamalolo-esque.
Mate, your boys, 38-4, got a little bit of vengeance for that loss earlier in the year to the Titans. Mate, huge game from a few nice players. And probably what I think was probably the try of the year to Heimel Hunt.
Yeah, was that the one off the return, the kick return?
Yeah, it looked like the Titans were going to sort of split them and go in themselves. And then all of a sudden, Mason Lino just tore them apart up the centre, and Heimel Hunt finished it off. But I know there's a few candidates for try of the year. I just thought that's probably the most impressive one I've seen, that you haven't sort of seen that style of try before, because, Gold Coast looked like they had the Knights at 6s and 7s, and then Mason Lino just tore them apart.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting point in the game. I actually watched it, even though, probably a little bit too late now. Obviously, you can't, not a mathematical chance, but it was an interesting point in the match. I think that try ended up making it a bit of a big turnaround for us, and was a bit of the floodgates opening. But yeah, Lino was huge. Watson's had an absolute blinder at hooker, and out on that right edge where Lino and Barnett and Mataudia have just absolutely run amok out there, which was good. Young Best, Bradman Best looks the goods out there. Looks like he's going to potentially get that left centre spot by the looks of things, and formed a nice little combo with Ponga to score a try there. So I'm hoping we can hold on to him. And yeah, what can you say about the Titans? Arrow in danger of losing Arrow. Been reading during the week, and just not much doing there for them.
Yeah. Mate, just a quick chat about Connor Watson now. I started the year with him, but after the first couple of weeks down on form and then injury, it looks like he's sort of found a bit of form, mate, the last probably 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's interesting, because as I said, I think we mentioned it before, we've just signed Jaden Brayley, and I think Watson's position, whether he likes it or not, is that hooker position, and he hasn't really had too much time spent there during pre-season, obviously, or anything like that. And I just think it's his best position from everything I've seen this year. So, again, it's pretty interesting to see what they'll do next year. But he provides some really good spark for us out of dummy half. As I said, he's got that just off the mark pace, which just adds a whole different dynamic. But unfortunately for you, mate, it was the wrong time of the year. This is the sort of thing we're expecting from him, potentially to start the year. And I honestly do think the Ponga experiment probably cost us a little bit in the end as well, to be fair. Woulda, coulda. There was a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas, but pretty disappointing end of the year from us, considering the squad we had on paper. But they've just announced the signing of O'Brien, I think it is, as the head coach for the next 3 years. So I don't know anything about him, but interested to see where he takes us and what sort of style of play he brings to us. Because
he's currently with the Roosters, mate, as an assistant there, but previously came through the Melbourne setup. So he's obviously got a good pedigree when it comes to coaching under good coaches with Belly and obviously Trent Robinson now. Hopefully he can bring a little bit of upside to the boys.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know much about his credentials as a head coach, whether he has or he hasn't, or this is just his first crack. But as you said, he's got the pedigree. He's been in a couple of good systems, which is all you can hope for, I guess, given where we're at. But, I've heard there might be some murmurs around us trying to get like Timmy Sheens as an assistant coach, and there was another name. I think they threw David Furner's name out there. I read something today, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, like I said, disappointing end of the season, but at least we didn't get the spoon, and hopefully we can continue to build on the progress we made over the last couple of years and hopefully crack finals next year.
Yeah, definitely. Second game on the Friday night, mate, Manly and Melbourne, and the Storm giving a touch-up to the Eagles after, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago now, Manly getting up 11-10 in that Golden Point game. Obviously, the big story out of this one was Tommy Turbo. The single 1 point for Supercoaches, a torn pectoral muscle. Probably 10 to 14 weeks out, unfortunately, for the lad, and that'll take him out in the next season.
Yeah, and it was an absolute domination from Melbourne. Watched this game; they were just all over him from the word go. I think at one stage there they got 5 repeat sets. I think it was 5 dropouts in a row for a period of time that I watched there. Melbourne clinical, and once Turbo went, I think that sort of shot him in the foot, and Cam Smith was massive. I think obviously Olam's crossed for a hat-trick, a couple junk time sort of tries towards the end there, and Pappenhausen's just unbelievable, scored again, and surely their best spine has to be with that bloke at the back as they head into finals, because he's all over, he's everywhere, mate. So
you look at blokes like Pappenhausen, Teddy, Connor Watson. There's still definitely a place in our game for these smaller guys. These guys are just that quick off the mark. That first 20, 30 metres, just lightning. And it's great to watch. And mate, he's taken the NRL by storm, Pappenhausen. In his starting games, I'd love to see what his average is, because I reckon it'd be close to the 90, maybe even the 100 mark.
Yeah, I read something, I think a week ago, he's got the best start to better than any other. They put up the Teddies and the Turbos and the Slaters. He's had a better start in his first 5 games at fullback than any of those guys have. Obviously, a bit easier when you're playing in a side like Melbourne, but pretty crazy starts when you put it like that. So
again,
he's got a huge future.
Could be one to have a look at, obviously, depending on teams next year. With the average, obviously, he's played a lot of games off the bench, so his average and his starting price next year shouldn't be too high. But, mate, one name you mentioned there, Kenny Bromwich. Where I reckon I didn't really see this kind of play with this guy. I knew he was always a workhorse and a good solid player. I didn't realise the ball skills he had. A lot of people talk about Wade Graham at Cronulla. Wade Graham's probably that little bit more complete with the kicking game. But, mate, Kenny Bromwich, his work on that left-hand side with Olam and Josh Adokar, second to none, has just been awesome. Yeah,
he's been a little bit of a project player, I reckon, for Bellamy down there. He's just sort of a couple of years ago he was coming off the bench and was getting limited minutes, and he's slowly worked up to this player he's now. And I reckon, I think he started the year awesome, and he probably flew under the radar. There might have been a few people that had him, but I can't imagine he would have had high ownership. Has a bit of attacking stats in him. His base isn't bad, but he then had a bit of a lull period there. But probably been an awesome pod to finish the year off, and out on that left edge with Munster as well, mate. So, I think he's probably gone under the radar a bit, but full credit to anyone that, had him at one point or another or started with him and has kept hold of him because, he's probably had a bit of a breakout year, to be fair. And, very, very dangerous on that. I guess forms a big part of that left edge for him now.
Mate, third game on the Saturday night, finishing off the day. We had the Roosters get up over the Panthers. I didn't catch this game, mate, but obviously Teddy scoring well there, 84. A lot of people had him as captain. Latrell went quite well with 80. Viliami Kikau, a bit of a return to form. I know he scored the Panthers' only try there. And James Fisher-Harris, consistent as usual this year.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to see much to say. It was at Matty Harmon's 40th. I was sort of watching it, glimpses of it. But yeah, all the repeat offenders, obviously out there again. Verrills obviously had a big game, playing pretty well in there at hooker for the Chooks. But yeah, I guess, again, just Chooks flexing that premiership muscle, and they struggled with Penrith last time they played, so that was good for them to get the job done. I had Teddy as captain. He's been just absolutely massive the last 6 weeks. You can't complain with 80 out of your captain, to be honest. So, and Fisher Harris obviously banged that a bit all year, but he's obviously had a massive breakout year, Supercoach-wise as well, and just continued to be pretty solid. So, yeah.
Definitely. Sunday footy, mate, and the 2:00 game was Cronulla and the Raiders, and unfortunately my boys went down 15-14 in golden point time in the 88th minute. What was his name? Aiden Caesar kicking 3 field goals, and Chad Townsend getting a couple as well. So, look, cracking game this one. I thought for probably most of the day Cronulla were the better side, but the Raiders just showed that their true legitimacy as top 4 contenders. Johnny Bateman had a massive game again. He just threatens anywhere and everywhere on the park. He pops up on the left. He pops up on the right. His tackle bust, his strength is just phenomenal. And the footy knowledge and just his positional and his awareness on the field is just awesome. Jaden Brayley, you spoke about, mate, 102. Obviously heading to your boys next year. He had a cracking game. Scored a try or set one up.
Yeah.
And, Ronaldo Mulatalo, mate. I love this guy. I just love saying his name, Ronaldo Mulatalo. Had a good game as well.
Yeah, it was a cracker of a game. I think Cronulla got away to a flyer. They had scored the first 3 tries in the first half and missed all the conversions. So probably ruining a bit of that, to be honest. They could have been losing Johnson, obviously, in the warm-up. Flanagan's a superstar as well. He's going to be a huge coup for the Roosters and a big loss for your blokes along with Jaden Brayley. But, Mutalano has found a bit of a spot out there on the right edge, brings a lot of energy. I remember watching his debut. I think it was against Brisbane earlier in the year, and he had an absolute stinker. And I thought, this bloke will never get another run again. But he's actually been awesome in the last few weeks for you. So lots of energy out there. Wondering, between Dugan and Moylan, who missed probably every other fortnight, where he gets some game time. But
I'm liking this Mulatalo because of his finishing skills. Like you say, he's only probably 5 or 6 games into his career, but you know how the wingers just do some crazy shit these days.
Yeah.
Mate, for a guy his age and that sort of experience, he's already doing that. So he looks like he's learning plenty. He runs hard. Mate, I reckon he's got a big future.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just sort of know with them that they tend to have it or they don't, and the way they can finish and that sort of stuff. And he definitely looks like he's got it in spades. But I think Caesar's done the 3 best things he's done ever since joining Canberra, and that was kick those 3 field goals. I haven't seen anything like that for a long time, if ever. 5 field goals and it was back and forward. But unlucky to your boys, unlucky Gal. I think I saw a thing on during the week where every milestone game he's played in from the 50th, his debut, his 50th hundredths, he's lost in every single one. So this was no different, unfortunately. Old Gal there, but absolute cracker. And I think Josh Morris, I don't know what he scored Supercoach wise, but to me, it looked like he was one of the best on ground out there, just from watching the game perspective.
Huge game. He's had a cracker of a season. I saw this week he's actually linked back to the Dragons with the Sharks trying to create up some salary cap space. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any truth to those rumours. From a Canberra point of view, look, team list came out today, and a lot of people will see that Johnny Bateman and both Chance Clockstad both rested for the Raiders this week. So huge blow for Supercoaches with those two boys out. Obviously you'll just have to use the trades you've still got in the bank, those people who own them. Fuck up. And the final game of the week, West Tigers giving the Dragons an absolute toweling, 42 points to 14. It was, look, I have to say, obviously Momirovski scored huge there with 145, but it was definitely the Benji Marshall show. Benji was just absolutely awesome. Set up plenty, ran the plays, just did everything. And, thoroughly deserves a good send-off, Benji, because he's been absolutely fantastic. And look, actually, has he retired? I know Robbie retired. Surely Benji's retired by now. Have I just declared his retirement for him? Just the inside scoop there, peoples. Benji, no doubt, will retire at the end of this year. Look, obviously, big game next week now, Cronulla and West Tigers for that final spot in the 8. Looks like the Broncos will keep theirs unless some kind of miracle happens with the West Tigers Cronulla draw. But, mate, huge game last week with, the Tigers getting up, mate. Momirovski, mate, he cost you in a few drafts.
Yeah, well, I think obviously I mentioned it. We got our main draft, obviously playing a couple other ones for giggles, but in the two other ones that I played in, both blokes had Momirovski, and one of them had him as captain, and it was his last Hail Mary. I think I was up by about 300, and he's dead set come home and knocked me off by 40 or something with the players he had left. So, I'll be ruined Momirovski. I'm glad it wasn't in Classic to cost me anything, but fucking crazy score there from him. And, this one, crazy updates. I thought Noel Faluma finished the game on around 40 or something off, 50-odd points, maybe close to 60.
Yeah, 59, mate, he was.
Just kept updating. It was just sick, but... I think big news coming out of that one as well. I don't know if you heard, McInnes is gone for the year. He's done... what was it? He's pretty much looking at something that'll take him through the pre-season.
Yeah, he's fractured something, and along with some more structural damage. So, he'll be out until early next year. Cameron McInnes, unfortunate news there.
Yeah, absolutely. So not good for the Dragons, and I think I read today there's going to be a bit of an internal review, and Mayor Rigger's job could be in a bit of strife, which I think we were all sort of waiting for, because, as we've said many times over the last few weeks, on paper they should be much better than where they are. So they'll lose with it, and then we'll see what happens if they get a new coach. It might be a bit of a clean out, but it's pretty disappointing from those guys. But really good to see Benji turn back the clock. Obviously watched a bit of this one, and he looks as good as ever. I seriously think if they make finals, he'll retire. I mean, if he doesn't, I don't know if he can really give another year of his best, but his last few weeks of form's been good. But I reckon if they can somehow get over your boys and crack the finals, I don't know, whatever happens, I reckon he'll call it if he can get them there over the line this year. Just to make the finals last time, maybe.
And, speaking of that, that's one of the games this week. That is the 2:00 game on Sunday. We look to the rest of the games for this week. Thursday night footy, we've got the Bunnies up against the Roosters. An absolute cracking match. Big advantage for both these sides playing the Thursday night, because obviously with finals next week, it'll give them that few extra days rest. Parramatta coming up against Manly in a top 8 clash, so that'll be interesting to see who moves forward more on the ladder. Melbourne should be absolutely far too good for North Queensland Cowboys. I know they're resting a couple of players, but with Cam Smith still leading them there, I'm sure they'll be fine. The Raiders, same thing there. As we mentioned, Johnny Bateman and Charles Nickel-Clockstad both rested. Bailey Simonson to start at fullback. Michael Oldfield to come into the wing position. So it'll be interesting to see how the Raiders attack fares with those guys on there and obviously losing a couple of those other players.
Yeah, a couple of big outs. I think it'll be interesting to see the South Tricks game. I know there's a big rivalry there, and I wouldn't expect them to take it easy, but, they effectively have no point to be taking any big risks around, I'm thinking of guys like Teddy and guys like that. They don't really need to push too hard because they can't really improve on where they are. I don't think it makes a great deal of difference in terms of the outcome of the match. So it'll be interesting. Same with Melbourne. I think, obviously Munster's not named. How long does Smith hang out on there on the field? They've got the minor premiership wrapped up. Does he play? I noticed they've named that Harry Grant, who's a stand-in hooker again in the squad. So for those still playing, obviously in head-to-heads, not rubbing it in, Joshy, or anyone that's still sort of in the running for something, has to keep a bit of an eye on team list. I'd have to think Johnson's still in a little bit of doubt. I thought I heard it was a quad tear. But it could be interesting for people that are still going around what happens this weekend with team lists. And obviously people that have trades, I reckon, Turbo to Pappenheisen's probably not a bad trade this week, obviously. He'd be pretty safe. But yeah, I'm very mindful of what's going on around, teams taking a little bit easier as they can't really improve too much, especially those teams up high and how they actually go out there. So it can be interesting for myself in a couple of big head-to-heads who I captain and vice-captain, but won't give away too much.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. I just nodded off for the last couple of minutes there, mate. So
don't blame me. It's my monotone.
Oh, mate. I'm done. What do we got next, Bogan?
Trades, surely.
Fuck off, trades. No trades. There we go there. Last week.
Top scorer of the week.
De Janeiro. Top score, 12.44. Pete Top, Kevin Bottom continues his good form. And Trent with What's a Pod. Rocks or Diamond season continues. Overall, Charlie White, I think he's 54th overall. So he has slipped out of that top 50 just slightly. 1,101 points last week for Charlie. Rangers De Janeiro, look, still a good 400 behind Charlie. So Charlie definitely not in any danger of losing the gong for BJ and GameDay top league overall. And Stevie Woods moves into the bronze medal position. So I think between myself and Steve, there's about 60 points and about another 100 back to Wayno with Earls Granny. So I'd love to get a medal, but at this stage, not looking likely.
Come on, mate, you got to save us as much coin as possible. Well done again to the Snags, but obviously finishing anywhere in that top 1,000, let alone the top 100 and even closer, maybe sub 50s. Massive, so hopefully he can finish off the season strong and, entrench himself somewhere down in that top 40 or something like that. That'd be really good. But he's just been, every week we've looked at scores, he's always been up there and, he's scoring, had some good weeks and he's been, continually scoring just a little bit better. So good on him and well done, mate. Massive season for yourself.
And what do we got then? Our Cup, Brendo keeps flogging the snake.
It's official. Was it a whitewash?
Yeah, 3-0.
It was a whitewash. Bogan's been
3-0 whitewash. And then what do we got? Head-to-head. Minor premiership. Unfortunately, Brent and I both going down last week. Brent going down by 17 points. And I went down by 17 points. So, 13. Fucking score updates changed like crazy. So a couple of tight ones there. After regulation, I was actually in front. Then I was behind. Then I was back in front. Then I finished up behind again. And that was with No Faluma jumping up 25 points. I thought I'm a chance here, but unfortunately wasn't to be. Madness. And mate, season 1 veteran, Marky with the fucking Cowboys. He got up over you, buddy. So it'll be a good game there this week. Both the lads projected to score in the late 1200s. So we'll see how close they can get to those projections. And
well done, boys. Bridesmaid Cup.
For the big victory and for the Mark Gasnier / Carmichael Hunt trophies, Rangers de Janeiro just got over Wayno with the Hells Grannies. He had a bit of a comfortable win there by about 100 points. Marty, 1,117 getting over the Snags, 1,101. So Marty Lau, absolutely massive result. He'll be stoked with this. He'll be absolutely chuffed if he can take this out. Look, he's got a massive hill to climb here in trying to beat de Janeiro and Blake. But good luck to Marty this week, mate. I hope the Supercoach gods favour you. I hope the teams getting rested and things like that hasn't affected you as much as it will Rangers, because no doubt the trades left are at a minimum. And
obviously the winner of that one's going to have to get in contact with us, mate, so we can line up getting their illustrious prize to them. So
exactly right.
Obviously, if you have a chat to any of these boys or whatever, we'll sort something out. So make sure we get in touch. Get in touch with us.
Definitely. And what do we got after that? We've got the wrap it up. Yeah, nice and quick one tonight, guys. Obviously, end of the season. We're running out of things. We've got no video. Join us next week. We might have it all sorted. We'll wrap up all the grand finals. We'll wrap up, obviously, the Supercoach year. We'll lead into next year with a few things and a few of the leagues. There will be an overall league. There will be a draft league. There will be another Supercoach group. And next year's league, again, will probably be a 20-man league. We might do another 20 or a 10-man, depending on how many guys we can get. So tune in next week. We'll have all that information. And, mate, we'll have Mad Monday not too long after.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And obviously big shout out to the Bogan who's been there every week when we at times haven't. I know we've been there most of the time, but he's shown up week in, week out. So cheers, Bogan, for all your efforts behind the scenes, mate.
Massive efforts. Appreciate it, mate.
Into something a bit more respectable. Absolutely. But may the trade gods be kind. If you got any, good luck to those playing in any grand finals in the head-to-head. Joshy, I know you won't care, probably won't even look, but make sure you finish strong and save us as much money as you can in the BJ total points, mate.
Will do. Just a quick side note to people: play for Feeder this week. I've got to because I've got no other players to play.
Who captain?
All good. See, who captain? Oh, mate, I've got to go someone. I've got to go someone crazy. I haven't, even though we looked at the lineups before, I haven't really looked at it. I was actually thinking of maybe going Dylan Brown if he played, and Parramatta absolutely toweling up Manly going into the finals. But look, that's about as stupid as I can come up with.
It sounds like a man that's ready for the year to be over.
Definitely. All right, guys. We'll catch you all next week. Cheers, lads.
Cheers. See yous.
Hey, how you doing, everyone? Bogan here. Just a little addendum that we got the Skype up and running. Brent said he'd be disappointed if the audience didn't get a chance to see his handsome face this week, so got him back on cam. How you doing, Brent? Let's test that audio out.
Yeah, good, Bogan, good. I think it's good that you give the people what they're after and
well,
not get them a look at this beautiful face every week, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, it seems we've scared him away over the past few weeks. It's dropped a bit, but yeah. I'll just attach this to the end of the show, and Josh can get a nice little surprise when he watches back.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. By the sounds of him tonight, he'll be watching right through.
He was a happy camper tonight.
Yeah, I reckon I could put a little message in the end here, and he wouldn't even realise until someone let him know.
Oh, well, they can all contact him on Facebook and say that we said the most horrible things about him ever.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. All right. Well, anyways, I'm just testing that out. You want to wrap the show up properly this time?
Oh yeah, look, mate. Big year. Obviously, thanks to everyone that's given us some support. All of our faithful followers and people that comment and provide input. It's always good. I know we haven't always been awesome at using Twitter, looking at myself there and different things, but it's always good to interact with people. Obviously, I hope we've been able to help out along the way at some stage and provided some good advice or a bit of entertainment, if nothing else. Yeah, good luck again to everyone playing in any finals this week.
Yeah, big week next week, grand final special.
Yeah, we'll wrap it all up next week. Obviously, go over the head-to-head grand final winner of the league. We'll probably, congratulate Big Charlie on his big finish. And
yeah, I'll have to dig out that Charlie White clip that we played earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Earlier
obviously,
in the year.
few things on the line next year, as Josh mentioned earlier in the night, around having a draft league next year for our top 10 or whatever it'll be. Obviously, you'll be in that bogan despite being a little bit outside of that realm, but
just a tad out.
we've got to have you. We've got to have you. So yeah, should be some good stuff next year. Hopefully, we continue to grow and build a bit of a good fan base. And as I said, I think the strength of the leagues this year of sort of a reflection of we have a quite knowledgeable sort of following, and which is really good to see. So
yeah, and as been said many times, if it wasn't for those two blokes at the bottom, be up there, quite up there, the league. I don't think that anyone be averaging under 1,000 a week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a heavy year. There's a lot of like 1,100 plus averages, which is pretty big, to be honest, Bogan. It's been a pretty baptism of fire for someone like yourself that is playing for the first time. So, yeah, solid league. Hopefully we can do it all again next year. And, yeah, just thanks again to everyone that's shown us a bit of support throughout the year. And, yeah, we'll talk to you all next week for the final show of the year.
Alrighty. Well, cheers for that, Brent. And, yeah, we'll talk to everyone next week.
See ya.